Hey goddess, let's talk. Hello everybody, this is Dr. Joy back with another episode of our Intuitive Goddess Talks. So in our session today, what we're going to be doing is actually looking at a new spread that I created for us to kind of expand upon some of our discussion and to focus more on our sensual selves. I know all the information about me is going to be either in the description box or you go to the website or whatever, but just a reminder, therapist, sexologist, sensual expansion, advocate, all those things. So we're going to expand on our ability to tap into our sensuality today with our spread. In our spread, we'll be going over, I guess, the perspective of 4 different archetypes, 4 different feminine archetypes. The first archetype being the lover girl. The second archetype being the Shadow Priestess, the third archetype being our Pleasure Maven, and the last is going to be our Goddess Self. So I'm going to be pulling with the questions that are formed from, let's say, that aspect of self. If you were to look at it as just 4 different wise women who have something to ask, to share, we're going to be pulling from there. Okay, so what I'm going to be pulling from different decks depending on the goddess I am pulling from. And I will make sure to put all the information about the decks that I use in our description box so you can check out those decks if you would like to. So we're going to first start by tapping into our lover girl. The lover girl, the pulse of desire, the whisper of longing. She asks, what does your body ache for? What sacred pleasure is waiting for you now? So let's go ahead and tap into that. We're going to be using a tarot deck, and I'll be pulling just a few cards from here. If you're somebody who is active, sexually active, whether or not you have a partner, if you're somebody who's not sexually active, I do identify all of our energy as being sensual energy, right? So energy that can translate to work, to our creativity, to raising other people, to the way that we talk, the things that we believe. We're made up of a bunch of energy. But whether or not you are using sexual energy to exert physically in sex, you still have something to tap into that you can transmute into something yummy that you want. So if you're here and you're not actually sexual, it's still fine. I'm actually celibate. Even though I'm a sexologist, right now I am celibate. And so I'm still quite a sexual and sensual being. And I still tap into those things that I need to in order for me to be my most powerful feminine self. Okay. All right. So the 3 cards. First, we have a 4 of Wands. We have an Ace of Pentacles. And we have the Fool. All right. So the question that the lover girl was asking is, what are we aching for? What is it that our bodies are desiring right now? Okay. So when I'm looking at the 4 of Wands, first of all, the 4 of Wands in traditional tarot represents foundation. Say it represents family. Oh, sorry if it gets blurry there. I will put these up probably a little bit later. Okay. What's depicted in this 4 of Wands is, let's say, potentially a mother, a father, and a child. So what your body, literally, and when we say your body, also, it could be your physical body, it could be your mental body, your emotional body, your spiritual body. What it is craving from a sensual aspect could have something to do with wanting to have foundation, wanting to have security, wanting to know that something is steady, something is safe, something will be there over and over again. Maybe you're not the type of person who wants to tap into something intimately, sensually, as like a one-time thing. It could be, right? Maybe that's what you currently have and you want it to be different. Or maybe you just want more of that. Maybe you currently have a very secure foundation and you appreciate that with giving your body to an instance or a situation where you know there's going to be stability. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're married. Because sometimes the Four of Wands is depicted as two people and there's no children. There might be, there could be a house behind, but that's usually like a Ten of Pentacles. But it still represents the foundation for everything else, right? And so you may be looking for a very secure foundation before you allow yourself to maybe explore a little bit more. Then we had the Ace of Pentacles. So the Ace of Pentacles is usually going to represent something new, a big opportunity, a shift, a change in your cycle, maybe in terms of the things that you are manifesting, maybe the things that are physical, right? That are 3D. Now, you may want to manifest something for yourself, sensually or physically, that is new, that is a big change, right? Or maybe you're wanting to, from a sensual standpoint, maybe you're wanting to actually, especially looking at the foundation, looking at this family, maybe you're wanting to plant a seed or have a seed planted. Really, you might be looking to get pregnant. Is somebody looking to flourish or transmute your sensual or sexual energy into a new life, into a new expansion, into a new adventure, whether or not that expansion is an actual child or planting a seed for a relationship, planting a seed for a new way of even being sexually. Oh, do we want to now explore a different community? Do we want to open up our relationship, or do we actually want to try being serious and monogamous? But a new planting of a different way of being, right? And then we also have the Fool. Now, this Fool is depicted by a person, and this could be a man or a woman, honestly, but this is depicted by a person who is being bothered, it looks like, by their pet, right? Now, a lot of times when you see the depiction of the Fool, the person isn't necessarily bothered by their pet, but their pet is going along with them. But in this instance, it looks like the pet's like, don't leave without me. They're like, no, 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 I'm going to do it on my own. I don't need you to be there with me. In terms of our sensuality, the Fool is often going to be somebody who is taking leaps of faith. Now, this little scared cat, having your pet be afraid of you about to take a leap of faith, what you might want in your sensual life is taking a leap of faith untethered by anyone telling you that it's wrong, untethered by someone telling you that this new style, this new thing that you want to plant, maybe this new different type of foundation that you want to have, you might be wanting to let go of something old and pesky that has been keeping you from going ahead on the adventure that you want to go on sensually. Okay, so the Fool is taking a leap of faith. We have a foundation with the Four of Wands. We have new ideas, new seeds being planted, brand new opportunities with the Ace of Pentacles. And we have I'm going to do it anyway, leave me alone. I want to be free, basically. I want to be free with the Fool. All right. So now we are going to tap into our all right, so that is what our lover girl had to say about possibly what your desire is, what your body is aching for, right? So now we're going to tap into our Shadow Maven. So our Shadow Maven, calling upon the Shadow Priestess, the keeper of hidden truths. We now will know what she unveils. She unveils what we hide, asking, where are you dimming your fire? Where are you holding back the fullness of your power? Okay, so we're going to look at what the Shadow Priestess might reveal could be something that is holding you back from stepping into this leap of faith, stepping into this foundation, this different foundation or new opportunity that you want to have sexually or sensually. Now, what I'm using for our Shadow Maven, which I'm probably going to use for most of our sessions together, I'll change out the tarot and different things like this, but it's the T deck. It's the messiest deck. So I want to see what the Shadow, our Shadow Priestess, has to say about the barriers you have to your ultimate sensuality, to your freedom, to you grabbing a hold of your desires. Now, some of the stuff that I'm saying may not apply to you, or maybe none of it will apply. So probably since I talked about the lover girl, if none of that applies to you, I would ignore the entire thing. It could be something that applies to you later on in your life, but if it's so far-fetched from anything that you're interested in, it makes sense that you don't even go past this particular pile. Or you might want to just listen just to hear some tea. All right, so the first thing, let me get two more. Sorry. Oh, gave me two more right there. Ooh, okay. So the first is a moving forward card. Moving forward says, uses the past as a way to heal and prevents past traumas, ooh, from intervening in connection or feelings. Okay, so this is actually when it's talking about the okay. So moving forward, if we're looking at it from the lens of the Shadow Priestess, it's saying that one of the barriers is not moving forward, probably, right? Are there things from your past? Are there traumas from your past that have stopped you from either believing that you could build the type of foundation that you want to have, that you could have the type of sensual experience that you want to have? Are there people in your past who have told you that it's not possible for you to have the thing that you're looking for, asking for? Are you afraid if you're with somebody currently, maybe it's new, maybe it's new enough where you can introduce new concepts, but have you had situations or relationships in the past where it was new, you introduced a new concept and it was shut down, and maybe you were even shamed, or it tainted the rest of the relationship because the person wouldn't let go of the thing that you wanted to talk about sensually before? So this could be something, a barrier to stopping you from actually moving ahead and asking for what you want, or manifesting the type of sensual experience that you want to have. The next one that I have is lethal weapon. All right. So lethal weapon says, deadly combination, double the trouble, triggers each other, explosive arguments, make up to break up, to make up cycle. Being stuck in a cycle, right? It could be the current relationship or again, past relationships. But if you are in a cycle, let's say more specifically in the current relationship that you are in, that you want to maybe expand, you want to get wild sensually, you want to add something, you want to get more intimate, you want to make it softer, whatever it is that looks like for you. But if you are in a place where you're constantly in a cycle of making up and breaking up, you don't know if tonight is going to be the night that you introduce this very vulnerable, mind-blowing thing, and you have this experience, and then the person that you're always breaking up with breaks up with you, right? And how devastating would that be if you allowed yourself to show that vulnerability? That could be a barrier, again, which would connect to the moving forward or the not moving forward, staying stuck in the traumas of people who have shut you down in the past. And then the last one, is TikTok. All right, and this is the last from our Shadow Priestess. Wasting time, too little too late, dragging their feet in committal. That doesn't make sense. Dragging their feet in committal. Time is running out, years gone by with little to no improvement. I think they wanted to say commitment. It does say committal. So again, this looks like another one where somebody is probably wanting a foundation. They're probably wanting security. They're probably wanting to know that they are it, that this is the place where I can be completely free. I can tell you my secrets. But if you consistently are in several relationships, or a relationship that proves to you that it's not steady, how can you be 1000% who you are? I don't want to use the word freak as if it's a bad word. It's not a bad word. And I don't even want to over sensualize the word, right? It can mean all types of things. But if you are full of freedom, if you know that your spirit is full of sensual freedom, and you're not able to be Sorry, I just had the dogs hit a thing. If you are someone who is tapped into your sensual freedom, but you're in a space that doesn't allow for that freedom to exist, it's like it doesn't allow for your full self to actually exist. You can't wave your flag. We got to wave our flags. We got to wave our flags. Now, that said, coming from the Shadow Priestess perspective, it's our shadow. It's not necessarily the things that are true and in our lives, but it's the things that we are thinking about, we believe are barriers to our sensual expansion. Sometimes it is people, sometimes it is a circumstance, sometimes it is timing, sometimes it is just so many things that are happening for us that put us in a place to not be able to ask for what we want or even think about that part of our lives. But if you're here, you probably are in a place where you feel like you should have some sensual expansion and enjoyment in your life. But if you have something else on your back telling you that you can't have it, or that another person isn't going to be able to be trustworthy enough to provide it, I want us to look into our next one, which would be our Pleasure Maven, to see if there's going to be any advice as to how to move around that. But if there's not specifically something that comes out, I'll make sure to kind of tap back into that. But these could be your possible barriers right now. All right, so we're going to use a pleasure deck coming from our Pleasure Maven. So we're going to pull upon the Pleasure Maven, radiant curator of daily delight. She whispers, how may you welcome softness, ecstasy, and sacred pleasure into every breath, every moment, every touch. So like I said before, your sexual or sensual energy, to me, is something that is all of our energy. We call it different things, but let's say it's all sexual energy, right? And so what we want to do with that is we want to know that the advice that's coming from our Pleasure Maven could just be pleasure in general. Because what if you, at the smallest level, don't believe you deserve pleasure at all? This is just the instruction, sorry. You can't even reach the heights of asking for your sensual pleasure. All right. All right. So let's see if I could read these cards. The first from our sensual deck is come home to yourself. Dearest one, you've been gone so long, wandering far outside of yourself, looking for something, someone to lighten your load, to feed you, clothe you, tell you just how many years they've waited for you to journey their way. How tired your feet grow, how heavy your heart, and yet you still wander. The action suggests it is, but if you get quiet and still in meditation, you hear me, calling from inside your rib cage, calling from deep between your ears and at the bottom of your belly, whispering, I'm right here, and I have everything I need, telling you to stop searching out there, to come home to yourself. So that's pretty powerful to me, especially because everything that I feel like has been coming up is about maybe feeling the insecurity, the lack of trust when it comes to another person. And therefore it prevents you from being able to do the stuff that you want to do because you feel like they maybe haven't created the environment that allows it. I was just telling a client, it was something I was watching a meme, not a meme, but I was watching something on Instagram the other day. And the gentleman was talking about trust and how trust is an illusion. And I don't want to say you shouldn't trust anybody, but what he was saying ultimately is you have to be able to, one, trust yourself, right? Trust that you'll be able to discern when it's time to stop trusting somebody. But trust, it comes with risk. So grabbing your desires, they come with risk. And I think we have to be willing to take those risks. We have to be willing to say that this may not turn out exactly the way I want, but I know it's not going to turn out any way I want if I don't allow myself to be put in that position. So sometimes what it is coming home to yourself, right? Learning to trust yourself, knowing that, yes, you do have what you need. And therefore, even if you reached outward for something in addition to what you needed, you wouldn't be without. You're never going to be at a loss. We are able to be sensual for ourselves, with ourselves. We don't need permission to be ourselves. We need permission or consent from others to do things with them, or things that are maybe that they didn't think of, but it was our idea, right? And we can discuss that with them. But you don't need permission to actually be sensual, to embody your sensuality. All right. What turns you on is the next. So much of our identity formation is determined by a list of likes and dislikes. We know our favorite foods and how they're best cooked. We know our preferred skincare routine and the itinerary of our perfect date. We often grow up perfecting our signatures and even picking out favorite children's names. So the action. But what about our fetishes? If you can't instantly list the scenarios, styles, positions, or props of your ideal sexual encounters, then that's okay. We mustn't judge individuals for social problems. However, it is up to us individuals to address those problems. So what turns you on? Make an extensive list. So what turns you on? Make an extensive list. If you're not sure, it's time to find out. So if you are someone who doesn't even know what turns you on, maybe you're like, I just know that whatever I'm having right now doesn't feel brand new. It doesn't feel like a new idea. It doesn't feel like it's expanding me, right? And so if what you actually want with that leap of faith is to do something different, what is the different? If you were put in a space with somebody who said, wave your flag, you could do whatever you want tonight, you could do whatever you want to do today, would you even know what you wanted to do? Are you looking for someone else to show you what to do or to show you what pleases you? Is that actually a part of the lack of ability to quote unquote ask for what you want? Is it because you have a lack of knowledge of what you desire and you're waiting on someone else's desires to turn you on? Or is it that you don't have the right person to speak those desires to? Sometimes in our minds, again, because when we're talking about our shadow and the barriers, it's about what we're thinking and not necessarily what's happening. We could be thinking that based off of what's happening, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's based off of our history, based off of even our upbringing, not even past romantic relationships, of what you're supposed to be allowed to speak about. But when it comes to our intimate relationships, this is what makes it different and special from other relationships. No matter how many intimate relationships you have, they are still different than our friendships, than our coworkers and those types of things, where we should be, one, allowed to say all the things. But if you're given the space, if you're given the mic and you don't know what to say in the mic, it won't matter, right? So this is a challenge to, one, come home to yourself, right? Get back to understanding that you do have everything you need. And what turns you on, get to the thoughts and the real things, even if you want to call them fetishes, but what really turns you on. So when the time comes to be able to speak on it, you can speak on it. Okay. And the last one is the power play. Power is the engine of sex, and knowledge is power. The more you know what you like, the more you carve out space for play. And sexuality should be as playful as possible. Otherwise, you're giving your power away. Stepping into an intimate scene with anything less than your rightful sense of worth, dignity, and empowerment is what creates anxiety, insecurity, and broken boundaries. So the action. From that place, your power is snatched away with your voice. From that place, you can barely communicate your wishes, let alone play. Sex is about owning your power, even as you happily submit to another, and using it to tap into endless reserves of joy. What makes you feel powerful? Consider these things. Okay. What makes you feel powerful? Consider those things for play. So power play. All of this is speaking to me again about really being able to come to a space of using your voice, knowing what turns you on, and knowing yourself. So know yourself, know the list of the things that you want for yourself, and then enact your voice to be able to get those things for yourself. It's about owning your power even as you happily submit to another and using it to tap into endless reserves of joy. So use your power to get to your endless reserves of joy, which do exist within us. Want to keep saying that, emphasize it for my non-couple people. They do exist within us. Okay. So for the last pile, we have the goddess self. And so we are going to tap into our goddess self, the embodiment of your radiant wholeness. She reveals what gift blooms when you claim your full sensual and divine power. So we were just talking about a power play, and she is talking about, we're going to pull one of the goddesses and see what they have to say about actually embodying this sensuality, what this could look like for you physically? What are the the consequences of you embodying the sensuality, the consequences of you using your voice, the consequences of you knowing what you want? What are the consequences of you having a partner or partners who allow you space to be open about your kinks, right? Who allow you to even work through some of the traumas that you have, allow you to be afraid, and allow you to become brave even in their presence, right? Like allow that slow time. What are the results of you embodying that power? Sorry, I love all the stuff. Okay, the card that we got was, I don't know, can you see that? Pleasure. I didn't pick the card. Pick. The card picked me. All right. So Tanit is the goddess that was picked here. I would like to read that for you. Let me find the book for it. This is my African Goddesses Rising deck. And again, I'll put all the information in our box below. So that is number 11. Let me go ahead and find that for you. Tanit was a goddess of stars in ancient Carthage. Today, all the way over in Ibiza, they still have pleasure filled, full moon, midnight table dancing parties in her name. Tanit's guidance. You are thirsty for more pleasure. You can't thrive when life feels dry. You are made of laughter and stardust, not sawdust. Pleasure is your birthright, a gift from the universe. Embodiment. How much juicy pleasure can you stand? Turn up the pleasure principle. You secretly feel that you don't deserve it. But pleasure is a healing and manifesting force. Laughing, loving, and orgasmic joy is holy. Hold your hands over your reproductive area and say aloud, I deserve pleasure. The goddess declaration is, it feels good to feel good. So the consequences of you being able to have a safe space where you can speak, utilizing the safe space so that you will be able to move through whatever traumas, move through whatever fears about past situations, and you can get present with how safe your situation is now, if it is safe, right? And then get to the place where you can actually speak about what turns you on. You can own that, put that into your foreplay. The result, the embodiment of it as a goddess is for you to have pleasure. You deserve pleasure, all the pleasure you can have. Now, all the pleasure you can have does not mean reckless pleasure. This is our sacred sensual goddess spread, right? So pleasure is still sacred. Goddesses are still sacred. And sacred really is what you make it. Sacred has a container. Okay. Sacred has a space. So it's not everywhere. It's where you decide that it is. It's how you decide that it is, but there is a container for it. And then it therefore also maintains a different type of energy when it's not spread so thin, it's here. And then you get to experience all that yumminess in one sacred safe space instead of trying to get pieces of it from different places. This person allows me to speak freely in these little ways, and this person allows me to move in these little ways. And this is also not me saying that we shouldn't have like more than one partner, but when it comes to really wanting to grow in our sensual energy, we need some sort of place that is consistent so that the energy around it is, we know it's going to be there. I'm not going to learn something this week and then come back to the teacher, come back to the co-student to try to learn something else with that person, and they have disappeared or they have changed the rules of the arrangement or the game, right? So what you might be seeking more than anything is to explore whatever you want to identify your relationship as, but to explore in a place, to explore in a place that you know is consistent. That might be your biggest desire, to be able to wave your flag, have your foreplay, and then have your pleasure, right? So that is our sensual, sorry, our, excuse going to be so much editing that happens here. That is our sacred sensual goddess spread that I have for you. And I will be pulling some more in our following episodes. Hopefully you took something from that. If you do have any questions for me, or if you have any comments, please feel free to go ahead and comment below. Like, subscribe, share. I will eventually be doing some Q&A specifically around sensual obstacles that you might be having. So I'll be doing some like anonymous Q&As and things like that. But we'll start to build that up as we go down the road. But I want to give this to you before we leave. And again, I'm practicing the things that I have not memorized for us yet. Our goddess archetypes have spoken. The lover girl has awakened our craving. The Shadow Priestess has unveiled our chains. The Pleasure Maven has invited us to soften and receive. And the goddess self has revealed the gift of our divine embodiment. May this wisdom not live only in the mind, but ripple through your breath, your touch, your steps. May you carry your sensual self as sacred medicine, and may your body forever remember you are holy, you are whole, you are home. Bye, goddesses.